All right, we're rolling. Finally got Jake on the pod, dude. Been trying to get you on for a while now, and I'm really lacking energy. So if I can get this open, we're gonna try one out right now. So for everyone watching and listening, Jake and I have been friends for probably like a year now,
A little more.
a little over a
Late
year.
2023, probably.
2023, local Austin entrepreneur. We started our businesses around the same time. You might have been a little after me, but yours is killing it. For everyone who doesn't know, this is Jake Levy, founder of originally Way Better Bar, now Jacob Bar. We'll get into like why you rebranded and why you changed it and everything. But the cleanest protein bars on earth. Delicious.
That's a good response.
I've never really been a protein bar and energy bar fan, but these are amazing. And if you guys have ever tried one, they're outstanding. And the business is doing pretty well recently, right? What are you guys doing monthly revenue wise right now?
So, not to dodge the answer right away, but like March is our first month ever being fully in stock. March 2025 is our first month ever having full inventory, and we did about 300,000 in revenue.
Dude, sorry, I'm fucking chewing in the middle of this.
All good.
That's insane. That's crazy. You started how long ago? When was the official launch date of the first part of the brand?
So, yeah, you mentioned that we met in December 2023, sorry. So a little more than a year and a half ago. And that was when I launched Way Better Bar. So I guess to give a little bit of backstory, I started working on protein bars in general in August 2023. That's when I went full time. Launched the first iteration of the product, November 2023. That was with Way Better Bar. That was with a very small amount of money. We were at a small bakery in Houston making these bars.
Well, walk us through that. How much did you start the business with? First of all, why protein bars?
Okay, so should I back up to like why I started the
walk
business?
us through like how it first started. Because when I met you, you booked a call with me, right?
Yeah, that's how we first met.
It's pretty crazy. Jake paid like $50 to talk to me back then, and you were still
I'm
out
very
of the
pro to like paying for access to people when you are first starting.
Yeah, and I think you know this. I used to pay my mentor $2,000 to talk to him for 30 minutes, and now he has equity in our company. And I've seen you go from a college apartment garage band starting brand, garage band business to $300K a month. That's awesome. That's great. Less than 2 years.
I moved to Texas 4 years ago to study at the University of Texas. I was in the business school there. I was studying finance, computer science, and MIS. I was double majoring. Had a startup in the crypto world, in the Web3 blockchain space. I was deep in the blockchain world when I was at UT. Had a startup in the crypto space for about a year and a half, 2 years. Quickly realized that I did not like sitting behind a terminal and coding all day. And the only other path that I was on was kind of go to Wall Street after I graduated from McCombs at UT. And I also could not see myself living that life. I've only ever had one salary job in my life, and I quit after 2 weeks.
What was it?
I was making pizzas in a Lifetime kitchen.
Nice.
In high school summer.
Wait, at a Lifetime kitchen?
I was making pizzas.
Gym?
In a Lifetime, in the gym.
I didn't know Lifetime sold pizzas.
Surprising.
Wow. Okay.
Did that for 2 weeks, quit, and then ended up starting like a personal training business. So I was always doing my own thing from when I was in middle school. Like in middle school, I was selling.
So born entrepreneur.
I guess you can say that.
Born hustler.
I was selling like fidget spinners when that was a craze in middle school. Shut down the crypto startup in May 2023. Started this protein bar concept in August and dropped out within like a week of deciding to go full time on that. Still was living in Austin. Spent about 3 months ideating the brand, ideating the product, the formula, finding the manufacturer. The best piece of advice that I got was to take $10,000. I had money saved up from all the time that I was working and the previous business that I had. Take $10,000 and make as many bars as you can with that. And that's what I did. So the first production run in November 2023 of our bars was about 800 bars. Went into the bakery, made them, sold them via social media in honestly a few days, and sold out. Used that revenue to purchase the material for the next production run, and did a 1,000 bar production run, sold out via social media, did 1,200 bar production run. Did that for about 2 months, November, December into early January with Way Better Bar. It was going really well. We launched I think that's when you launched your clothing brand on TikTok Shop as well. And we did that. I did that before all the big brands were on TikTok Shop. So the first month that we were selling, we were like one of the top 5 brands in food and beverage on TikTok Shop. And we only did like 70 grand that first month.
which is awesome though. Back then,
Oh, for sure.
TikTok Shop's no
And
advertising.
that was
no
also
ad
like
spend.
$0 in ad spend. I didn't know what marketing and meta ad manager was.
Yeah. Well, before we get into this, because we're moving fast, a couple early on questions. So you started the business with $10,000, right?
It ended up being a little more. I took on some debt, but yeah, the first production run was like $10,000.
I think there's so many young people that think you need a lot of money to start. I started my business with $9,000 between my co-founder and I. Same sort of thing. It was like we bought 500 pairs of shorts, went, sold them to our friends. Everyone thinks that you need a huge plan. And when in reality, like you could have a plan, and I guess it's good to have a plan, but so many things change. And I guarantee you that, nobody that blew up on TikTok Shop, whether it was your brand, my brand, any of these other brands, knew that TikTok Shop was going to be a thing. So you could have a plan, but so many things change and it happens so fast. I think you just need to start and go, which is what you did. And, you get customers in your local network and then you grow from there.
I get a lot of outreach from aspiring food entrepreneurs. Not that I'm like top of the industry.
Yeah.
By no means, but like people that are my age or younger, or a couple of years around me, are always reaching out, asking for advice with manufacturers and fulfillment people. They're like, I'm too small, I don't have enough money to meet the MOQs, the minimum order quantities for some of the larger bar manufacturers. Because the larger bar manufacturers, the MOQ is 200, 300,000 bars. And if your bar costs $1 per bar, that's a lot of money that you probably don't have if you're 20, 21 years old. And for some reason, so many people just think that that's the only way to make the bars to start out. I didn't go to a full-scale bar manufacturer. I spent 3 months from August to November asking every single person I knew. I mean, now there's platforms where you can find manufacturers online, but back then there wasn't. And I went to a small bakery. They were making brownies, bites, and cookies. Our original protein bars were circular, if you remember, with my Better Bar. They didn't even have...
They were like hockey pucks, thick hockey pucks.
We were using a hamburger forming machine to make the original bars. And then we were like hand feeding them into the flow wrapper. Yeah. So I just think you have to think outside the box. Like if someone just tells you, oh, the MOQ is 180,000 bars, we'll find another solution. That's not the only way.
Yeah, and prove the concept first before you go and throw 100,000. I always, a lot of people on the internet have this assumption that you need to have a lot of money to start a business once again. And the truth is, I actually think it's better to have less money when you start a business.
Absolutely. I can talk about that for a while because not only did I not know what paid ads were, but like all I thought was I need to sell this product so I can make another production run. Yeah. And for sure, constraint breeds creativity. Even if you have a ton of money, the best advertisements are the ones that are scrappy and creative that don't cost a lot of money. Go out into the street. Like that was my original marketing plan. I went with my buddy to the UT. I still lived on West Campus, which is where all the college students lived at UT. And me and my buddy just went to the main street at campus and gave out 50 bars, got 50 clips, posted that to TikTok, and each of those videos, even if they only got 20, 30,000 views, which they didn't. We had like 5 million organic views in the first month, which obviously helped to sell us out. But on the other side of that, it also really caused me to dial in the financial and operational aspect of the business. I was counting every single penny. I was doing the books. I was watching that cash flow model every single day because I couldn't afford to slip up with $1,000 because that would have put me in the red.
What's funny, you were kind of like the opposite of me because I wasn't looking at the bank or the books or anything. I didn't even know how to do that stuff at the beginning. I was just like, let me sell as many pairs of shorts as I can. That was the only thing I was worrying about. And then we got to the end of year one and we did like 630K. And then I look at our bank account and I'm like, where is it? I was like looking at this. I'm like, oh my God, we just turned 9K into 600 grand in 1 year with no ad spend. This is awesome. And then I'm looking at the bank account. I'm like, where the fuck is it? Right. But you're very lean and you're still the only employee of your business, right? Obviously you got like freelancers doing some stuff, I'm assuming, right? But
well, from the start, you always have partners. You're never really alone because you have a manufacturing vendor, you have a manufacturing partner, you have your packaging vendor. And then for the first year of the business, I was procuring all of the ingredients myself. So I had relationships with 20 different ingredient vendors. So yes, I'm the only full-time employee at the business. I recently brought on an agency to help with our Amazon. I recently brought on someone to help with our Meta ads and Google ads, but that was in the last month. Like for all of 2024, I was doing everything myself, which I'm actually pretty grateful for because now I know how to use the Shopify admin. I know my way around the TikTok Seller Center and the Amazon Seller Center and all these different softwares and the spreadsheets that can maintain the current business. Obviously now I'm at a point where I need people to come in and like maintain and make more efficient the systems in place. But I think that with the software that's available now,
So many
you
tools.
can remain very lean for a long time. And I'm still the only
For sure.
employee I'm hiring now.
Absolutely. And it's only going to get more and more of that, because you can do almost anything by yourself these days, at least to start. You don't need a team to start any sort of business. It could be good to have a team, but you don't need it.
To clarify what I just said also, I don't think it's a flex to say that you're the only employee. I think, if anything, it's a downfall with my capabilities of hiring people at the right time. But it has helped the business remain more profitable since starting.
For sure. And for anyone watching, for two different perspectives, he's very lean. He has no employees. I have 7 or 8 right now, and they're all part-time though. They're not getting big salaries. Maybe they get $1,000 a month or $2,000 a month, and they do specific things like the email guy and the ads guy, and the creative director and the product designer, like all these different employees. But because of that, I have so much free time, and I set mine up that way. That way I have time to go think about new things. And that's not to say that's the right way or the wrong way, because it's obviously working really well for you. You're doing very similar numbers to what we are. And
I'm
you're
actually
all by
pretty
yourself.
good at, because I was in like the technology crypto world before this, I followed like all those venture capitalists in that world. So I read, what's his name? Like Andreessen Horowitz and Paul Graham, like that world of people. I always read their stuff, and they have this concept of maker and manager mode. And I try to separate my days with like maker or manager mode. Today, I woke up and sat at my computer and was answering emails and Slacks and customer service stuff for
crazy.
hours.
I would never want to do. I did that in the early days, but I would never. I can't be doing that anymore, bro.
But then tomorrow, maybe not maybe. I know I'll wake up and be in maker mode. I won't open email until noon. I will have an open Notion page or an open Google Doc and just work on growing the business. Because
how many hours a day are you working right now?
So all hours, I think, is the right answer. But not all hours are the same. Not all hours are like super tedious,
for sure,
spreadsheet work and email work. I consider working, reading a book about management or
this
setting
is
goals.
Technically working. This is advertising your company. This is sharing your story. If you really,
Well, I had a business before this, and I didn't structure it the way that I wish I structured it. And it caused me to really think about my anti-goals. Like, what are the things that I don't want to be doing? Like, I really hate inefficient meetings. I hate getting on a call and be like, hey, what are we talking about today? So like, that's one anti-goal. Another anti-goal is sitting on email all day, every day, and not like being proactive, but being reactive. I hate being reactive with the business. So right now, I am working all hours, but it's on things that I really enjoy. Like if I don't enjoy doing it, I try to automate it or delegate it.
Nice. Well, let's back up a little bit, right? Because we didn't talk about the why.
Okay.
The very first, the
thesis.
Where did obviously you're a very healthy guy, and that's always been really important to you. I think that's what we've talked about in the past. Where did the idea for a healthier, cleaner, ultimate solution protein bar come from? And my follow-up question to that is, did you have a roadmap or a plan to make this financially successful? Or did you think, I want to make a healthy protein bar, I'm going to figure out the other stuff along the way? Like, was it like an idea first because of the solution, or was it the business and then turn it into a product, if that makes sense?
Well, I'll touch on the thesis first, that I saw like the gap in the market, and then I'll touch on that question. When you look at, well, actually, I'll take a step back. Like my personal, going for another bite. That's why I asked the long questions. That way I have time to chew. My personal interest in health and nutrition. So for a very long time, I was in the camp that I didn't even see food as nutrients or anything more than numbers. And we're kind of taught that for our entire upbringing. Like calories, protein, fat, and sugar are the only things that you need to optimize. And I was eating the high protein, low sugar, low calorie foods for years. And so long as I was hitting my protein goal, didn't matter to me. And I had all these like diseases and ailments, and it never even crossed my mind that the food that I was eating was impacting these asthma, for example. I had asthma for a decade. I couldn't go more than 6 hours without breathing. I was doing injections in my stomach. I was going to the doctor every month. When I entered, high school, I started getting really bad acne. I had rosacea. My face was really red all the time. It was burning hot. Again, I was prescribed all these pills, all these ointments, all these treatments. Nobody ever asked what I was eating or how I was living. And I started to ask myself that question. I started to research and listen to people online. And things that the mainstream media and doctors weren't mentioning, that the foods that you eat can impact the inflammation in your body.
No way.
And like right now, right now, like if you're in the space and you're in health and you're in nutrition, it's obvious.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, like
For sure.
when you're in it and people aren't talking about it, it's not obvious.
Yeah.
Like it was a standard American story where I was eating the Pop-Tarts and the Cheerios and the processed junk, and I was sick and inflamed. Within like 3 months of making simple changes, just cutting out like the toxic food additives, my asthma went away, my digestive issues went away, my asthma went away.
How does your asthma go away because of food? See, I would have never thought that was correlated.
So I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a biologist. From a very basic level of how I understand it, asthma is a disease of inflammation. And if you can lower the inflammation in your body, that is directly correlated to your asthma. That's like the biggest, the deepest that I'll get into it, because you can do your own research, and I think everyone will come around to that journey on their own. But
you started eating healthy and it went away. That's all that matters.
Yeah. I cut out just like the toxic food additives. Like I didn't make any true drastic changes. I just stopped eating the junk that is fed to us when we're in school and when we're younger. And that opened my eyes to like the transformative power of food. So then I had to cut out, not to name drop, the top brands in the protein bar world. I started looking at the ingredient list of them, and they were optimized for the totally wrong things. These were candy bars with 20 grams of protein. So the thesis originally was, when you look at the bar market, you have two categories of bars. You have the high protein bars that are good at helping you hit your macros, but are generally void of beneficial or nutrient-dense ingredients. And on the other side, you have the healthier options that are the fruit and nut bars, but are void of the protein count. Third, most bars are plant-based. They use the soy protein or the pea protein. And you can go down the rabbit hole of like why that is suboptimal compared to dairy protein.
I'm curious why they even have that in the first place. Is it cheaper? Is it?
For sure, it's cheaper. But I think that became a trend in like the late, like 2018, 2019 into like 2020, 2021, when like Beyond Meat was a thing, when plant-based was on its rise.
Okay.
And so the original goal was to create a bar that was high in protein, using clean ingredients, and also animal-based. And that's why we use beef tallow as our fat base. We sweeten the bar with honey and dates. We use grass-fed whey and milk protein and collagen in our bar. So that was like the original thesis in late 2023 when I was starting.
Nice.
And then your other question was, can you repeat it?
So for me, at least, when I started Haas, I just wanted to make a cool pair of workout shorts. I didn't know anything about clothing. I didn't know the industry. I didn't know how difficult it was to scale a clothing brand. I didn't know you needed 75% gross margins or higher. I didn't know that manufacturers will lie to your face. I didn't know anything. I didn't get into my industry because I thought it was a good industry. I got into my industry because I wanted to make cool clothes, honestly. I just wanted to make a cool pair of shorts. So my question is kind of like the backtrack to that. Did you get in because you thought, wow, there's actually a great financial opportunity, a great business opportunity in this space? Or was it more so like, I just want to create a product that I would like to use? Or was it both?
Originally, it was, I want to create a product that I like to use. I still eat the bars every single day.
How many do you have a day?
I've dialed back a little bit. They do get when you're having 3 or 4 a day, it gets a little much.
If I eat 4 or 5 of these a day, will my skin turn blue?
You get a little bit flavor fatigue.
Like originally, Willy Wonka?
I mean, over the summer when I was packing, I packed the first 5,000 orders myself. So when I was in the facility doing that, I would have 2 bars for breakfast, 2 bars for lunch, and 2 bars for dinner or whatever.
Wow.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
So originally the intent was to create a bar that I wanted that I could eat and that I would eat because the ingredients were clean and the macros were good. And then the business, I would say the business came afterwards. Once you drop out of school to start your own business, you kind of need to make financial progress or else you're not going to be in business anymore.
Yeah. And what did everyone in your life think about that?
So when I first launched a protein bar with beef tallow, this is before the Maha movement and before the RFK stuff, everyone thought I was crazy. People were like, who's going to eat a protein bar with beef tallow? And why are you dropping out of school to do this? Like, can't you finish out your 2 years? Yeah, I heard all the arguments. Can't you do it on the side? Can't you wait until you graduate? All these things. And I just knew that I was never going to use my degree. I knew I was going to do my own thing after school anyways. I was just delaying the inevitable if I would have stayed in school.
Spending money and potentially taking away time from what really matters.
Yeah, time was the most valuable thing. It was like, I was in school learning, like, different rabbit hole, but in my opinion, rather useless information.
Especially for an entrepreneur. But what do you say to, sorry to cut you off there, but what do you say to all the people who said like, well, isn't it good to have a degree to fall back on? Like, that's what my parents were saying. Like, just finish it. You're already almost halfway there. Right.
I was just so confident that I would make it work.
Yeah.
I feel like you have the same delusional belief in yourself that no matter what, you will make it work.
Yeah.
And I always thought that. And for me, I knew I was never going to use my degree. So whether this business failed, I knew I was going to do something else that would have worked. This one just picked up steam pretty well. We clearly had some early product market fit. People were liking the product and the way we were selling it. And this was the opportunity to capitalize on it. I think the timing in the market right now, especially, is pretty impeccable in like for late 2024, early 2025.
And obviously TikTok Shop was a big unlock for you guys, but now you barely do any revenue on TikTok Shop.
Yeah. So TikTok Shop definitely like gave us the initial start of our business because we were so early on it that we were the main food and beverage products in the first 2 months, late 2023. In 2024, it was like we did about 800,000 in 2024, despite all the out of stocks. And TikTok was like less than 1% of that revenue. So it was essentially non-existent part of our business.
So where does it break down for us how the actual business works? Who are you selling to? Are you in retail? Is it all D2C? What's your target demographic?
So I'll get to that. We shut down Way Better Bar in January 2024.
Yeah.
That was like the most brutal part of the business because we had taken on about $80,000 worth of pre-orders because the cash flow from like the revenue like wasn't enough to keep on purchasing more ingredients. So I had done all these pre-orders.
It's the hardest part of e-commerce.
To purchase more ingredients. We ended up doing our biggest production run. Like I mentioned, we were doing 800 bars and 1,000 bars. We had made over 10,000 bars in late December, early January, and they were all defective. This was like just my naivete around food science and manufacturing. The first like 1,000 bars come out of the production room. I was just in the room over. And this was like the day before Christmas Eve or something. So like the team was like doing me a favor coming into the facility. And I started to pack the orders that we had done the pre-orders for, and they were softer than usual. I could tell that something was wrong. So I took one out and I ate it. And it was the most gummy, non-enjoyable product that I've ever had.
Like sticky.
And then I go, yeah. And then I walk into the production room and there was like 10,000 of them made. And I just like, that feeling in your heart where you're like, you get that pit in your stomach. I was like, oh my God. So like they stopped production. We try and figure out what was going on. One of the whey protein vendor essentially switched the type of whey protein on us without us knowing. And we had 10,000 defective bars, and that was all of my cash just sitting in these defective bars. Ended up having to refund $80,000 worth of orders. Shopify suspended our account, shut down our payment processing, and I was in debt. Like that was $80,000 of pre-orders. I had to refund all that I had already purchased the ingredients with that money, purchased the packaging, paid the manufacturer.
Why refund instead of just telling your customers, hey, small business, I don't have the money to refund you, but your bars will come eventually. I just want to make sure they're right.
I did that for about 3 weeks. I sent the email to all the customers. I said, hey, we had a manufacturing issue. We're working on it. I'll give you an update when we think we'll have them on the way to you. Talked to a lot of different whey protein manufacturers. Of course, it was like Christmas, New Year's. Like I couldn't get in touch with anyone.
Yeah.
It was around the last week of January that I decided, like I had hundreds of customers emailing me like, hey, where's the order? Hey, where's the order? And like, they just don't read the emails that I send them. But it got to the point where I didn't like holding on to these people's money. I had to refund them. So late January, I went into debt. Shopify got suspended.
How do you refund money you don't have? How does that work?
So I had to open up a few different credit card accounts and connect those to the Shopify. So
You're refunding money off of a credit card.
Yeah, and I had to take on, Shopify gives like Shopify Capital and these MCAs.
Which is literally fucking, that's an anchor. Shopify Capital is an anchor to the fucking floor of the ocean. It seems, they offered me $300,000. Yeah. That's great. Oh, and I don't have to pay them back unless I'm doing well. Please just trust me on this. It is never the option. Like it is the last option.
When you actually annualize the rates of these MCAs that you're offered, it's like 100+% per year. It's crazy.
Oh my God. But the worst part is when you take on debt like that, you cannot grow your business. Because, if you think about it, not to get sidetracked here, but just a quick piece of advice for everyone. The problem with these loans that pull on your daily sales, where if you do $1,000 in sales as an example, they take 30%, which is sometimes what Shopify Capital does. Sometimes it's like as low as 15, 17. Let's say right in the middle, 20%. The problem with that is if you're doing $1,000 in sales a day and 200 of that immediately goes back to Shopify to repay your debt, you cannot make money or grow your business because most of the time your profit margin is a little bit below 20%, especially in e-commerce. Like maybe your net margin is like 35, 40, but then, or maybe if you're lucky, it's at like 50, which is like your cost of goods, your sale minus your cost of goods. Then you have the ad spend, then you have the cost of acquisition. Usually your net profit margin, if you're lucky, is in 15 to 20% range. And if you're there, that means you're still like every dollar that's coming in is literally getting taken out by your cost of goods, your ad spend, and your repayment. And so, it looks awesome. Oh, they just offered me $150,000. The reality is you're trying to climb out of that hole for 6 months.
I will touch on that. I took on not a good amount of debt in late 2024. I'll talk about that when we get to it. So January, I was, in debt. I didn't have any money. I ended up hiring a true food scientist, spent some time with them. I was traveling to meet them. Ended up finding a new manufacturing facility, which was in Georgetown, Texas. We live in Austin, so it was about 45 minutes north. And purchased the maximum amount of ingredients that I could with the amount of credit that I had. So like, if you open up all these new business credit cards, they give you 12 months, 0 APY. So I had about $60,000 credit with these credit cards, and I had 12 months essentially before I had to pay them back. And I spent all 60,000 of that to purchase just enough material, to purchase the maximum amount of material that I could for our first production run of what is now Jacob in May 2024. So long story short, IP couldn't be secured with Way Better Bar, had to rebrand while we were reformulating.
So the main reason you rebranded was because of IP issues?
Yeah, I got rejected from the USPTO.
Wow, okay.
The Patent and Trademark Office. So there was no option. I technically got there was a trademark holding company that owned, I wouldn't get into it, but I couldn't.
I always thought your rebrand was because of branding opportunities.
Oh no, I thought Way Better Bar is a great name.
Yeah.
I thought it was.
Okay.
I
agree. I was like, it's the Way Better Bar.
Yeah.
No, it sounds awesome. But so, okay, it was an IP issue.
Funny story. I was getting to the deadline of when I needed to order the packaging for the next production run, I think. And I sat down one night and pulled an all-nighter, and I read through every word in the dictionary until I wanted to find a name.
A new name.
Yeah. It was like 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. Like I actually pulled an all-nighter. And then there was just nothing. Because Class 5 is protein bars. And I just couldn't find one that I liked in Class 5 that was available. And then ended up just talking with a friend. He's like, why don't you just name it after yourself? I'm like, Jake doesn't really work. And my middle name's Ben. That doesn't really, Ben Bar doesn't really sound good.
Yeah.
Jacob is my formal name.
Yeah.
So that's what I went with.
Nice.
So May, our first production run, I forget the actual quantity of bars, but it was like 25,000 of revenue. And we pretty much sold that out overnight. So we launched on like May 11th, sent the email out to my email list, did a post on TikTok and Instagram, and did like 25 grand in a day or so. Was shipping the product from my dorm room in college and used that revenue to purchase the next batch of materials. And we were back in stock in June. And then pretty much all of 2024, we were out of stock 1 to 2 weeks each month, which was brutal. And you have to turn off subscriptions, you have to turn off your wholesale accounts, you have to turn off the advertising flywheel that you get spinning, and you lose that momentum.
Being sold out is not good for anyone young who doesn't understand that. You probably, sold out means your demand is high. Being sold out is the last thing you want to be ever.
You can say that you sold out like once or twice before it just gets annoying. Like people are like, okay, like just figure out the supply chain.
Yeah.
So I wanted to figure out the supply chain. So I paid off the credit card debt and then started to take on MCA debt, because when you're such a small business, you're not getting a line of credit from a bank. And Shopify Capital, the Wayflyers, the PayPals, the other MCA style loans of the world, they're all emailing you saying, hey, take our 20 grand, take our 30 grand. So I had accumulated just over $200,000 in debt in 2024. And that still like wasn't enough to fulfill this demand. So like we were growing, but like not crazy. We did, like I said, about 800,000 in 2024. And it got to the point where I needed to finance the business in a different way, or else I was not going to grow, because when you go out of stock, you still have to pay back these debt repayments.
Yeah.
So ended up taking on some equity investment in early January 2025, which helped fund the transition to a full-scale bar manufacturer. They can produce 100,000 bars per shift in 8 hours. so we can scale with them for many years to come.
Nice.
And that's where we're at right now.
Well, walk us through what it's like raising. You're raising for a very unique product. I'm raising right now as well, so I understand. But for everyone who's listening or watching, everyone who has an idea and they don't know where to start, and maybe they've had the business for a while and they're looking to give away a piece, walk us through what that process is like. Are you cold calling people on LinkedIn? Are you applying for accelerators? Are you doing all the above? What was like the first decision you made in order to raise?
So for a very long time, I was very anti-fundraising. I was like, I want 100% control of the business. I want full optionality in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. I don't want anyone having a piece of my business.
Yeah.
Because I viewed it as like my business, and I have the best decision-making power. I have what it takes.
Yeah.
And I would say the first impetus for me wanting to fundraise money was I saw the timing in the market for the product that we're selling right now. And I didn't want to look back on 2024, 2025, 2026 and think I didn't do everything I could to capitalize on this opportunity. I mean, I think one of the biggest points of potential success is the timing in the market. Mm-hmm. And with everything going on with
that's been proven by
RFK, with Maha, with the increase in awareness towards like the ingredients that are in these food products and in the food supply chain, that's everything we stand for as a brand. That is our core value. Like we want to create a world in which people that care about their health don't have to compromise on it because we use clean, real ingredients. And so that was the main impetus. I saw the timing. I wanted to capitalize on it. Luckily, me kind of being the face of the brand, I'm on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok, doing talking head videos with me in my dorm room, fulfilling the orders and talking about the business. I did have a good amount of inbound interest from investors. So once I decided that I was going to start fundraising, it was, easy is the wrong word, but I had people in mind that I wanted to start speaking to already. And I would say the way I look at fundraising is, sure, when I started the business, 100% of the equity of the shares of the business are in my name. But I don't necessarily view the equity as mine. I view it as the business's, and it's my job to protect it and use it efficiently or effectively. I guess both.
That's a good way to look at it.
Because if I start looking at it as mine, I just don't think you're going to make the best decisions. And if you're taking a 20-year view on this, when you're raising your Series A and Series B, it's my job to ensure that we have sufficient capitalization opportunity at that point in 2-3 years from now. And I think if you go in with that mindset and that approach, you're having much more level-headed conversations with potential investors.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
For sure. No, and I fully agree. I think a lot of people will tell you, like, be careful with, I gave away 10% of my company like that for those of you that are watching or listening and don't know this, I gave away 10% of my company to very, very successful founder. And I asked maybe 50 people about it. What are your thoughts? And 49 of them said, you're an idiot. You're cooked. This is the worst deal I think you'll ever make in your life. And
who are you asking?
Mentors, advisors, family, friends, anyone who had some level of success. I wasn't asking nobodies who had no credibility to answer the question. I was asking actual really successful people, like guys that had built multi 8-figure, some 9-figure. I even asked a billionaire, like, what do you think of this? Because I had this opportunity. For everyone listening, I had an opportunity. The founder of the fastest growing e-commerce brand of all time and clothing brand, same company, was like, I want to help you grow your business, but you got to give me 10% right now. And there was no vesting, which means he gets it all up front. And it really was like just me signing it over and then hoping that he actually does something. That was the deal. And of course, it sounds like a terrible deal, but I had a really good gut feeling about it. And yeah, 49 out of 50 people, whatever the exact number was, said you're an idiot. And then one guy was like, who you know as well, who's very successful, was like, dude, I would do this in a second. But I used to be super stingy with my equity as well, just like you said you were in the beginning. And then I realized, like, nobody really successful has the entire business to themselves. Go look up Fortune 100 company. Just pause the video, go look up Fortune 100 companies and how much equity their founder still has. Majority of the founders of those companies don't even have equity anymore. Like these legacy businesses that were started in the early 1900s, Zimmer Biomet, right, in the late 1800s, or whenever it was, the founders of these businesses that have been around for decades, sometimes a century plus, usually don't even have any equity anymore. And the reason for that is, in order to get your business, this idea, this project that you're working on now, in order to get it to a multi-billion-dollar level, in order to get it in everybody's hands, in front of everybody's eyes, you need the best talent in the world. It's all about people. Ideas don't mean anything. It's all about people. And in order to get the best people, you have to be willing to you have to be willing to share, essentially. Because if I think about it if I said, yo, Jake, I have this awesome idea. Do you want to help me with it? Do you want to leave your company and help me with this? You'd say, fuck no, dude. Why would you, right? So in order to get the best people, in my opinion, you have to be, obviously don't hand it out like it's candy, but you have to be willing to share and make these people feel like it's their baby too. Because why would you take away time from your kid? If you were a parent, why would you take away time from your kid to help this person raise their kid if you didn't feel like you were a parent as well, if you didn't feel like you were part of the family? And so, after my raise, I'll have like 32% of the company left. But the way I look at it is like, this isn't my first business. It's not my last. I don't think this isn't your first. I don't think it'll be your last either. And you got to do whatever you got to do to make sure that you cross the finish line. Who cares how fast your first lap is, as long as you finish the race?
So I started the business by myself. Like I was a solopreneur. I didn't have a co-founder.
Yeah.
You were starting the business with half of the amount of equity that I had. So I viewed I have one main investor in the business, and I went to where they live and I spent about 2 weeks with them and had a really great experience. And
you only have one investor?
Well, I have a couple smaller ones, but like one main one that's like leading the rounds.
Are you allowed to say? You don't have to say who it is, but how big is that check? Pretty decent size?
So far, we've technically only closed like 400,000. So like small check so far. We're raising another roughly 600,000 right now from pretty much the same investor. And so I viewed these people that I'm taking on board who are very experienced in CPG have what I would say like kind of achieved the success that most CPG entrepreneurs dream of, and viewed the equity, like I'm raising at a pretty low valuation for where I'm at right now, but I'm totally okay with that because they will be as hands-on as I need them to be, and having them as a resource. Having them as a resource and a trusted resource is almost invaluable to me because, as I'm sure you get to, you're getting so many perspectives. You got 50 perspectives on raising, and it can become a little overwhelming because you're listening to a lot of different successful people that are telling you all different things. And for me, at least, having one party that has an extreme vested interest in my success and the business's success really helps clarify the decisions that need to be made. That's one. So I started the business with 100%. Like I viewed the early investors that I took on almost as like co-founder equity because they'll be pretty hands-on.
Yeah.
There's one other point that I wanted to mention with that too.
I have a question while you think about it.
Go for it.
What do you think has been the most powerful lever that you've pulled over the past 12 months, 18 months in terms of, we talked about this earlier. You might work 12, 14-hour days, but sometimes it's 1 hour out of those 12 that has the most output, right? That one decision that changes everything. What do you think was that one decision for you that you pulled that changed everything for your business? Was it content? Was it your personal brand? Was it...
When I think of the business that I have today and like the business that I want to build, because I'm so far away from like the success that I know I can achieve with this business, I think there's two ways that I look at it. You need to make those like incremental improvements that are like the 5% improvements. You kind of need to do that. Like you need to optimize the email flows, you need to optimize the website. Like that's not going to change your business drastically. You're not going to build, in my opinion, not that I have success with it, not that I have experience with it, $1 billion business by making all these 5% improvements. I think a big mindset switch that I had was I need to be spending most of my time finding these X factors in the business, like finding the 2 X factors, the 3 X factors. What can I do that will 100% my business, will grow at 100%? And there's a lot that you can do, because I'm a solo entrepreneur too. Like I still don't have any full-time employees, any team members. And you need to prioritize where you spend your time. And if I'm spending my time doing all these 1% to 5% improvements, I'm never going to go anywhere. I need to do what will 100% my business. And what have I done that has done that for me? I mean, our number one acquisition channel for customers right now is influencer and affiliate. So like finding the people that can generate us 100 or 500 customers in a specific niche that we're targeting is extremely powerful, because those 500 customers know the exact other customers that will love our product, love our business.
Let me rephrase the question a little bit. If you're looking at a sales chart and you're seeing your sales and it's kind of like a steady climb up, I imagine, was there a moment where all of a sudden that steady climb turned into a big jump?
Yeah.
And
when we launched on Amazon. But
okay, so there you go. And I was going to say, so and what created that big jump? Amazon?
I mean,
so a new sales
it's
channel
simple. Like I think people like to overcomplicate what like business is. Like I try and simplify everything. That's like one of my core values, both personally and with a business. Like simplification. Keep it simple, stupid. I think that's like the KISS acronym. We sell 3 flavors. We sell vanilla, chocolate, and berry. We sell it in a 9-pack, 27-pack, and 45-pack. And like, we make things and we sell things. So if I can dial in the operations and supply chain side of the business, and then dial in like the sales channels and where we're moving the product, at this point, we're just doing more of what we've been doing and trying to do it better. So I don't think there was like a crazy.
It's so fascinating. You have such a different business than me in terms of, I mean, even though we're both in e-commerce and we're both D2C, very different. You have 3 SKUs.
Yeah.
You have 3 SKUs and people can buy it over and over if they like it. And I have hundreds of SKUs and I can only sell one to one person, right? Now, or maybe someone buys a couple different pairs of
crazy,
shorts.
Even with the 3 SKUs that we have, there is just so much room to optimize. And part of it is because this is my first time in the food world and first time making bars. So, I mean, we just reduced the size of our packaging to like actually fit the bar. Like we reduced it and just enough to like fit the bar precisely, and we saved like 20% on our packaging costs. So there's like all these optimizations that you can have with a simple product. And also with food manufacturing, like food is very sensitive to the way you manufacture. Like the SOP for production has to be pretty dialed in. Like you can't overheat the liquids, you can't overmix the dough. There's all these things that if I were to go launch a new product line, if I were to go launch a new product line or new flavors, not only am I adding complexity to the business, but I'm not optimizing what we currently sell enough. Like we're at a $3.5 million run rate right now. Like before I would even think about touching retail or launching new product lines, we can get to 30 million. We can 10x what we're doing right now before trying to add complexity to the business.
It's crazy, dude. So this will kind of lead into my next question in terms of bottlenecks, but I used to be I reached my bottleneck and I forget exactly what the number was. I was selling shorts and I couldn't get above, I think it was like 100,000 a month. And we were trying everything. And I really did think, I was like, maybe this is the wrong product. Maybe I'm selling the wrong thing. Maybe the market's too saturated. Maybe there's too many clothing brands out there. I was coming up with all these excuses. And then I talked to my mentor he's going to do $500 million this year selling hoodies and sweats. Just hoodies and sweats, bro. And that's it. And I realized like, no, there are a million different ways to look at it. There are a million different ways to change things, to optimize, to make it better. And I'm curious what your biggest bottleneck you would say was, and what did you do to solve it?
Bottleneck across the business?
Yeah. Was there a time where you just could not get above some number, you could not get above some amount of orders a month, and what changed that?
I actually spend a lot of time thinking about where I want to be in like 5-10 years. The classic, like set your 10-year goal, like read the book Traction. It's like the entrepreneurial operating system. It's
haven't read that one.
Set your 10-year vision and then bring it down to like your 5-year plan and then your 1-year goals and then break that down into the quarters. And I think if you do that, you can try and stay ahead of a lot of the bottlenecks that you'll find. I would say the biggest bottleneck was transitioning manufacturers, because for a long time, I was just like, let me keep making it work with my current manufacturing solution. Let me try and increase the output. And we kept reformulating and getting new packaging to try and make it work on this equipment. But the biggest change was like just change the manufacturer. Like
that's a great lesson, actually. I went through real quick, sorry to cut you off. I went through the exact same thing. I remember at the beginning I said I did 600K year one bootstrapped, and I was like, oh, where'd the money go? It was because our cost of goods was so high. And even though all these sales, I didn't have a good margin. And we had to finally switch to a new manufacturer, and it changed everything for our business.
Like with made up numbers, let's say our tolling fee, which is what we're paying the manufacturer to make the bars.
Yeah.
Let's say at our previous place, it was $1. And I was trying to do all these things to like scrape 1 or 2 cents off of all these different parts of the supply chain when I could switch manufacturers and cut the tolling fee in half, go to 50 cents per bar. And like that is what I consider like an X factor. I'm cutting in half our tolling fee, which is a crazy improvement for our COGS.
And it does suck. It sucks. You got to shut down production. You got to maybe even halt your sales. I mean, you could try in the best way possible to set it up that way, like you're just finishing with them and starting with the new guys. But it is a hard process. But it's something you have to go through. I think it's so rare for any type of business, whether you're making computer parts or clothing or, CPG and food products, alcohol, whatever. It's very, very rare that the manufacturer you start with is the one that you finish with, let's say 5-10 years down the line, right? And so the quicker you can swallow that pill, I think the better off you'll be as a young founder with a young business.
And it sucks because you have the relationship.
Yeah.
And, you're a partner, and I was there during all the production runs. But at the end of the day, you have to do what's best for the business.
On that note, and I could tell a story in a little bit too as well, but what are some of the hardest decisions that you think you've had to make in the past year and a half?
Oh, for sure, who I'm going to take on as investors. That's been like before I took on the investors that I have now, I had dozens of conversations. And, when someone's investing in your business, especially a lot of money, like this investor will end up putting in millions of dollars or more than $1 million into the business. Like that's a marriage. That's someone that no matter the outcome of the business, obviously there's only a handful of outcomes. There's, we don't succeed and we go out of business, which won't happen, but it's an option. The other options are we exit to a private equity company or a strategic, or we don't. Or we grow to be a profitable business that is able to take distributions and we can hold on to it for however long. And with the latter two options, you're with your investors for the rest of the duration that you're at the business.
Yeah.
And I had to, when I was looking at the investors that we took, it's like, who do I most wants to be like? And that was kind of the biggest decision that I spent the longest amount of time thinking about. And you can kind of feel it when you're with people that you want to be like and that you respect what they've done and they have your best interests in mind.
I like that. So it's not just about getting the money in.
It's the people. And that's why I've been so hesitant to bring on the first employees too. The first team member that I bring on board will massively impact the trajectory of the business.
It'll massively impact the trajectory of the business, or it won't, and then you'll have to fire that person. And that's really tough,
which will be
too.
Months and tens of thousands of maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars, not wasted, but not utilized effectively.
Yeah, I mean, dude, you're killing it for sure. You're doing a very good job, but you're about to venture into a world that you haven't been in yet when it comes to building the teams, and it's really fun and it's exciting. And, I've probably hired over a dozen people now, and I fired quite a bit of them as well. My best advice for you is honestly, this is probably not traditional advice, but I think it's best to give everyone the benefit of the doubt and fully try to empower people. And 9 out of 10 of them will let you down. But you only need to get it right once. I love to live by that, right? You only, if you give 9 out of 10 girls a shot and they all screw you over and they break your heart or whatever, but that one ends up becoming the love of your life, that's a win.
I also think you have to go into all new relationships, I think, trusting that person. Because if you don't trust that person, that will come off. And going in with the mindset that you trust that person will subconsciously dictate the way you speak to them and the way you treat them. And if you show that you trust that person, you'll breed trust in that relationship, in my opinion, in my experience.
And I think you should do that with employees too. I think you should give your employees the opportunity to really prove themselves in the business and not micromanage. Like obviously they have tasks and they have shit they have to get done, but empower them to become the leader that your business needs to get to the next step. Because once again, you do need leaders to grow to $100 million plus business.
So
it's
that-
not just you telling people what to do. It's you need many versions of you. You need entrepreneurs who are going to make big decisions, take risk, have authority, and lead the business just like you are.
That brought up a better answer to your question about bottlenecks.
Yeah.
I'll say like the biggest bottleneck in growing the business is like my personal mindset around business and life. It's like you need to, the state of your mind is the state of the business. And if you're waking up every day being reactive, all you're doing is answering emails and Slack, like you're never going to grow. I think I'm a big reader. I like to read, and you need to have a clear mindset or a clear headspace to grow the business. And if you don't, it's going to come off with your numbers and your supply chain and your marketing and the way you talk to people, and no one's going to want to work for you or work with you. So like the biggest thing for me has been trying to level up my mindset. Not that,
dude, I completely agree. And I think that's one of the most untalked about things. People talk about the actual strategy and they talk about the actual decisions. But I learned this from a good friend of mine, Jared Getz, who's also on the pod. And he taught me that when you're in a negative headspace, it's impossible to come up with solutions. It is, he's a big energy guy, right? You cannot create a solution to a problem if you're not imagining yourself as the person who has the solution, right? It sounds a little like manifestation woo-woo.
right? I believe in it.
But I'm curious what you do. What methods do you apply? What routine do you have to enable yourself to be the best founder, entrepreneur, whatever, both from like a physical standpoint in terms of your health and wellness, but more importantly, your mental, because everyone talks about the wake up early and the ice bath and the fucking meditate and all that. But what do you do to put yourself in the best mental framework to make good decisions, especially that they're all on you because you don't have employees?
So when I think everyone has like a personal journey with their own mindset and efficiency. When I first started the business, I was definitely down the trap of like this this crazy efficiency trap. I don't know what to call it, but like I would plan my entire day to a T to like the 15-minute slot on the calendar the day before, and I would abide by it no matter what. I think that is helpful when you're at a certain stage of the business, when you have a lot of the tedious work to do. For me, tedious work is sitting in Excel and running the numbers and doing the cash flow modeling and stuff like that. I don't particularly love to do that. I've had to do it. Right now where I'm at, I think for me, one of my anti-goals is having things on my calendar and like meetings. Like I don't despise them, but I don't think it's a very good use of your time most of the time. So like I have one day a week where I have all my syncs with like the people that I work with. And other than that, I try and keep my calendar very white. And I think you need space. You need space to zoom out and see what the longer term goal is, and is what you're working on right now getting you closer to those goals. It's like, what can you do in the next 5 days or 5 hours that will make your 10-year plan closer to coming to fruition? And that's been probably one of the biggest mental unlocks alongside like simplification that I've had, where, okay, like I can work on like the website optimization and like these email flows and these small tweaks here and there, but that's just like me distracting myself from the actual work that needs to be done.
I agree. It is kind of like distracting yourself. It's busy work. But I have a question for you. One thing that I have, I would say a problem, one problem I have that I struggle with is when I do have a big block of free time, I almost feel maybe like a little guilty, or I almost kind of feel like a loser. Like, why do I have so much free time right now? I should be doing something. I should have a meeting. I should be working on something. And what I do to get away from feeling that way, which is a bad feeling, is I fill it with busy work, which actually, I look back on and I'm like, oh, that didn't do anything, right? What do you do to avoid that? It sounds like you have a completely different mental framework. And are you?
I actually think that's incredibly beneficial.
Really?
To have like white space. I'm not like, if I have white space in my calendar, I'm not like,
what are you doing in that white space? Like what you talk about thinking big, thinking long term, like Is it research? Are you watching podcasts? Are you reading? Are you calling people and talking to them? What are you working on? Or what are you actually doing in that?
So I use Notion. My life is kind of organized in Notion. I use it for everything. It's a great tool. I have a notebook and
Hudson swears by Notion.
Yeah, I use it for literally everything.
Yeah.
And probably one of my favorite things to do is just brain dump into Notion. And I think people underestimate the impact that you can have if you just open up, say you want to focus today on just marketing, general marketing. What can I do that will generate another 50 million impressions on these ads, or increase the efficiency on the ads that I'm running? And if you can just kind of brain dump, sit there with a white screen, turn your notifications off, and just brain dump for an hour or 2 hours, even if you pick out one nugget that will increase or 50%, make 100% improvement in something, that's a very worthwhile 2 hours. So if I have an empty space in my calendar, which I'm trying to keep most of the time, try to just brain dump and think about the business and zoom out. I think one of the most beneficial things I've done is try and zoom out. What are we doing here?
No, that's great. And I also think there's definitely a lot of power in writing or typing something out, because in your mind, there's literally a million thoughts going through you throughout the day, right? In and out, in and out, in and out. And it can be great to think, oh, that's a great idea. But if you're not writing it down, the chances that you remember it or actually act on it, most importantly, very, very low. So that's one thing that I'm going to take away from this, honestly. And I need to do a better job at that. And like I said, my mentor swears by Notion. So I need to work on that more. But, kind of
internal memos to yourself.
Yeah.
How I love, if you're interested in the asynchronous work culture and how to avoid meetings, I love Stripe's philosophy around this. It kind of went viral. It's not anything new, but
haven't heard of this yet.
Don't go into a meeting without an agenda. Instead of just getting on a meeting with someone, and write a memo, because most of the time, at least in my experience, if there's a problem that needs to be solved, instead of jumping on a call and wasting time and putting something on the calendar for 3 days from now, write a memo to yourself, and you'll probably end up with the solution. And then regarding meetings too, just in terms of efficiency, I don't know why people hey, let's jump on a call next Thursday. Just call me now. I never really understood that. If you need to speak with me, why are we going to delay this decision and delay this outcome?
For sure. I completely agree. I think most of the time people say next Thursday because they might not have time or they want to be conscientious of your time. But I agree. I mean, there's nothing worse than just waiting around for something, especially if the problem just came up now, right? You want the solution now, and the solution they have might not even apply at that late, or maybe this problem's already solved by then. So I think most of the time it's a scheduling issue.
That brings up just speed. So this has pros and cons. So I launched, we're on our 4th external iteration of our product since I've launched. Internally, we've done, hundreds of iterations. I do get the comments, and I do get the people saying, you launched too early. You should have launched when you were more perfected. You should have launched when you were this, that, and the other thing. You should have waited to get more feedback, do more testing, do more iterations internally before launching. At the end of the day, I think if I would have waited 6 months to launch the first iteration of Way Better Bar, I would have then started the iteration cycle. And then I would have launched iteration 2 6 months after that. And then iteration 3 6 months after that.
You'd probably just be getting the product out, right?
Yeah. It's I launched Jacob less than a year ago, about 9 months, 10, 11 months ago at this point. And we've done several iterations. And I think speed at this stage, even if we've only reached 20,000 customers, 30,000 customers, that's just a drop in the bucket. And I think you can kind of bring these people into your story and into your iteration cycle, ask them for feedback and get on a call with them and get their feedback and actually implement it.
Yeah. Okay. 2 final questions for you. One of them is concerned with personal life, right? Balance. What do you think of balance? Do you believe it's good to be balanced, or you would fuck that, I just want to get this done as fast as possible?
I want to make work something that I don't have to turn off from. I want to make work exactly, I'm in a fortunate position where I can make it exactly what I want it to be. I can choose who I spend my time with. I can, for the most part, choose what I work on. I like having these kind of conversations. Yeah. When I go to dinner, most of the conversations are also somewhat around work. When I'm getting a coffee with someone, it's mostly around work. If I'm doing something on the weekend and going on a hike with someone, it's mostly around
If you're getting a beer, it's usually with someone who's talking about work.
It's mostly I'm speaking with other founders, because there is a part of the job of starting your own business that it's hard to relate with some people who haven't. Not that it's an incredibly stressful job, but it's a different type of stress than working underneath somebody else. And it's easier to relate to and speak with people who are in a similar situation, building their own business, kind of the weight's on their shoulders. So I don't.
That's why I created Outliers.
I think, yeah, I'm in the boat of, I do take days where I don't do anything. I am very pro, like, work every day, all hours of the day, until you wake up one day and just like can't do anything. And then when I experience that, then I don't open my computer, I don't go on Slack, I don't open messages, I don't take meetings. So like sometimes it'll be 10 days straight where I wake up at 6 and work until 9 or 10. And I can go, sometimes I'm just super motivated. I have all this drive to do that. And then on the 11th day, I wake up and I'm like, I cannot do this another day. So I take a full day. I go on a hike, I go in the gym, I don't do anything kind of work related. And that full day, like decompressor, I wake up on the 12th day and I can get back another 14 days, another 20 days. So I don't know. I think if you're working like, nothing wrong with it. If you're working like 9 to 5, I personally have never been able to shut off after 5. Like I'm still thinking about work. There's still things that need to be done. And I'd rather work every hour of the day until I totally feel burnt out and then start up again once I feel refreshed. Maybe it's a day break or 2-day break, sometimes a 3-day break. Well, maybe not 3 days, but
that sounds like an Alex Hormozy thing. I feel like I've heard him say something similar.
I think I've heard Mr. Beast say that.
Oh, maybe it was Mr. Beast. Okay, yeah. Dude, I don't think there's been a day where I haven't checked Slack, email, and worked in like probably 2.5 years.
Well, the unfortunate reality is like I don't have a business at this point. I have a job.
Yeah.
And because if I were to take a total break, vacation, where I didn't check Slack at all and didn't check email at all, the business would go under. Like,
it doesn't mean you don't have a business. It might just mean that you need to implement some systems that you can step away from.
Right. But when people say, oh, you're an entrepreneur, you have a business, they think like sitting on the beach in Bali, able to like do whatever.
Fallacy. No, I mean, the great analogy of this or story of this is the clip of Bill Gates saying that he took the radio. There's a reporter interviewing him on his way to the office, and he took the fucking radio out of his car. And they said, "Why'd you take the radio out of your car? Did it get stolen?" He goes, "No, I don't want to be thinking about anything but Microsoft." And if you want to build something great, like, I think you have to go overboard. And working 14 hours a day doesn't mean that you're not efficient or that you're not optimized. It means that even once you've finished the things that are required, your task list, instead of saying, okay, I'm done for the rest of the day, it means, how do I go find some new things to focus on, right? And I think that's what makes the difference between people who go far and people who don't. But maybe I'm wrong. I'm not there yet. So that's just what I think, though. Then again, that's
part of the reason that I dropped out of school to pursue it full time. Like, I didn't want to do it on the side. I think there's a lot of merit to the idea that when I wake up, I want one problem to solve.
Yeah.
I don't want to be thinking about 20 different things. And I think your subconscious works in your favor when all you're thinking about is one thing. That does get draining at a certain point where you need to take a step back and not be super in the weeds. But I love waking up and solving one problem. How do I make more bars and how do I sell more bars?
Yeah. Well, on that note, so to finish off right here, because I think this is a great place to end it, what are you currently most excited for?
I wake up every day like super excited for the business that I'm building. Like, there hasn't been a day where I'm just not super pumped for what the future will be. Does it get...
But is there one thing, like for me, it's like we're about to get an office in May. I'm really excited about that. I'm excited to bring the team together. I'm excited to be able to leave my apartment and work from an office and draw on a board and be together with the guys and be there till fucking 12 at night and maybe even sleep at the office. Like, that sounds awesome to me. Is there one in particular thing? Maybe it's like a new launch or a new location or completing the raise. Is there something that you're like, oh, I'm just really... Obviously, you wake up every day and you're stoked. I can tell just by talking to you. Everyone can see that and hear that in your talking. But, you know, is there one thing that you're like, I'm very excited to get to this point?
You know, the goalposts keep moving, because when I was doing, I'm very curious to see how this plays out. But when I was doing 3,000 a day, and then I did 3,500 a day, I was like, hell yeah, that's a win. And then, you know, a week of doing 3,500 a day, it's like, okay, this kind of sucks. And now I need to be doing 4,000 a day. And now we're doing 15,000 a day. And when I do 10,000, I'm like, damn, like we failed yesterday. And so yeah, I'm sure you get caught in that trap too.
I feel that 100%.
First thing I do when I wake up is like, check our financial dashboard. What did we do with
No,
revenue
dude,
yesterday?
I call that the Shopify curse, bro. You can't do it.
It's
It's
well,
fun.
we're on Amazon too, so I have to like. We
No,
have
but
separate-
the Amazon curse, whatever. It's this habit that you're in of, 30 times a day. Whenever you go to I would go to the bathroom at restaurants and fucking pull my Shopify out.
Oh yeah,
refresh it, right?
I checked before I came in here.
The Amazon, yeah, no, it's horrible. That's not good for you because it actually doesn't do anything to further the business.
Because that's like the whole Amazon thing with Jeff Bezos' letters. Like the outcomes that we're achieving this quarter are the result of the work from 3 quarters ago.
Yeah,
I think I honestly don't have like one thing
that's fine.
I is like the ultimate goal. I just love like when I get emails or DMs or photos from people. Like I got a text from somebody yesterday. He's in some random like smoothie shop in Hawaii. Hey, I see the bars here. That's awesome. And then like these random coffee shops in Texas or Wisconsin.
They bought them on the site or something and then just listed them in the
wholesale.
store?
We have a wholesale.
Oh, cool. What do you use, Fair?
Yeah, we use Fair.
Nice.
Which, I mean, it's a different rabbit hole. They're okay. But I just love the concept of like, eventually we're going to be the #1 best-selling bar on Amazon. And then eventually we will be on the shelves of Whole Foods and Sprouts and Costco. And that's what I got out of like the intangible world of computer science and software into like, I can have my creative output into something tangible that I can hold and give to somebody and get their feedback right away by seeing their facial expressions. And if we can just do that at a mass scale, like I look forward to the day where like I walk into a random gas station in Vermont and the bars are stocked there and it's all over and it's actually helping people's lives. Because look, at the end of the day, we sell a packaged food and steak and fruit and eggs, and it's probably going to be better than anything you can open a package for. But we are, I think, making a tangible, positive impact in health and nutrition for people around the country where they don't have to compromise with these crappy nutrient void ingredients in most other products. And those like small improvements just get me excited.
Let's go, dude. I love that. Well, thank you for coming on, bro.
Thank you for having me.
I'm glad we made this happen. Obviously, we're going to link all of Jake's socials. Jake's also on social media, just like me. And
I need to get better at that, though. The personal brand. I haven't ventured there yet.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to watch. I'm always open for a call, dude, if you want to talk. But yeah, I'm going to link all of Jake's stuff. And thank you guys for watching. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, comment. And then once again, I do this at the end of every podcast, sometimes at the beginning. If you're a younger entrepreneur, or if you want to be an entrepreneur, or maybe you're at the beginning of your journey and you don't really know what to do yet, we have a free Discord. It's got like 5,000 people in it, just young people getting after it. And if you're a more successful founder, most of the guys in our group are probably in the mid 7-figure range. Some guys are well above 8 figures. We even have 2 or 3 guys that are at 9 figures, and you're looking to get connected with a lot of other young, successful killers. I'll leave the link to apply to that as well. But thank you guys for watching, and
appreciate you
for coming on, bro.
Thank you.